Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Rao coming up to present some discussion on what is spiritual journey. I promised somebody that I will talk at 10:30 today, but I was in a meeting and stuck. I couldn't get out. So I'm sorry about missing the time, but I started at 11 now. It's supposed to be at 11, right? It's not at 11, but that's okay. I kind of making the time now. So could be some people are interested and they can ask me questions, or I could tell you my understanding of what the spiritual journey mean and how I came about it and what is importance of it in modern society. So it was like uh, very reviving and really renewing all our energies and really know what we are doing in life, where we are going and all. So it has significance, I think. Everybody has their own spiritual way to approach that. That's all okay. But then personal journeys, personal experiences are very important to each one, right? Lots of times it used to be that was the only thing people pursued, the spiritual journey, you know. And there were several ways people did. They worshipped, they went to temples, churches, mosques, or they kind of have some guide in their own community directing them. They have means of doing some rituals and all that. But what I was interested was more like a modern, rational questioning and want to know rather than just take it for granted what somebody else has proclaimed or asserted, right? So that path is called knowledge path, Gnana Yoga, right? So that is what I was interested in, and that really appealed to me. And when we embarked on that, it's like a more like asking questions, probing them, not getting satisfied with superficial answers, but allowing the question to stay with us and continue to uh, asking probing questions deep into the matter, right? So that kind of thing, you don't have to go to heaven to realize spiritual thing, or you don't have to be somebody's uh, kind of follower or student or just a slave to their thinking and all that. That was not there. What it is from what is the so-called ignorance to knowledge. That is actually explored in ancient India. A lot of people believe that Indians are just believers, but actually the land is not for belief. It was for inquiry. It was for probing. It was for asking questions and all that. Thereby opening our intellect, making it much more sharper and subtler, and explore these things in a personal way, right? So that is the journey that I was interested in, and I was embarked on. And as you know, when you are brought up in India, it was always like you go to the temple with your parents, and the parents are making you really prostrate in front of the idol or god, right? That was a normal practice any kid picks it up. It is around the school, around the society, around the house, and all that. That kind of made them get an anchor with which they are going to go into the life. And also for me it was more like a security blanket. So I used to remember when I was in high school. I used to do very well in the school, but still I wanted some kind of support from the guard, right? So I used to go in just before the exams, even though I prepared well and I was doing well, but I went there and then ask his best thing, ask his support for my exams and doing well. So I did well. But then, as I getting older and getting into medical school, those things have disappeared, and especially when you are in the anatomy lab and seeing other dead bodies, you kind of develop a uh, fatalistic philosophy, like, what is there in life? Everybody will become like that, something like that, right? And later on, we were forced to perform well in the exams to get ahead, and then to land up jobs, and all of those things have come up too. And then, somewhere there, I was introduced to deeper thinkers of India, Gandhi, for example, Tagore, or Raja Ramohan Rai. So there was a tremendous, really uh, big people. I thought they were there, especially Gandhi, right? And he said sometime, "What are you?" Somebody asked him, and he said, "Oh, some people think I'm a social worker, and some people think I'm a politician, and some people think I am really reforming the society, like that, right? But if you really ask me what I am, I'm a spiritual seeker seeking for God, looking for God, you know. So everything else became, normal for him, that kind of thing, right? So that was one influence. And then there were so many nice songs with well composed, good music. They were going on around you, and usually they are very well composed music, and they take you. And there was so much music that was made in ancient times that's still surviving, so I had to go and examine that too. So the transformation was more like, all the things that were promised in the temple religion, in the other things, they were not seen in the society, right? Then I came upon Jiddu Krishnamurti. Once I came to the country, and to the United States, actually, I was not introduced to Krishnamurti when I was in India. I didn't know about him at all. I think that's a shame that I didn't know about it. But then, once I came here, one friend took me to his video presentation somewhere, and that made a lot of sense to me. He kind of questioned the way religious rituals were going, and then how they are making our mind not to really become sharp and understand life and suffering and all that, right? He was very critical of, first of all, the teachers or gurus they proclaim, and he was critical of the standard ritual practices of, any religion. And he said the people who have really invented those religions, they might have seen the truth, and afterwards the truth is misinterpreted or misconstrued, and now everybody is following. That means they are not looking at their own ability to discover the truth by themselves, uh, that kind of revolutionary, dismissing the whole of religion, dismissing the whole of education as it is now, dismissing all the psychology, dismissing political structure. That was remarkable, what he said. Of all the things that I appealed from Krishnamurti was, he talked about the misuse of thought faculty, you know, and then how we can go beyond the thought and be in that silent self, which is itself could be a very profound spiritual experience. So I don't know what it was, but then in the beginning, when I was reading him, studying him, the meditation books and all that he said, he did not talk about meditation as a process, but more like a emptying the content of consciousness. That kind of thing gave me tremendous peace and quiet, and that quietness and that energy lasted all day for me. Okay, I don't know. I will call that as a spiritual experience, but that is an experience within me, that silent one. Then he talked about silence as a whole, and which was really, really good. Then I was really probing things on my own. My mind became more subtle, but I was also confused. But then, how do you use the thought? I thought was good, and then I using it deeper thought, and now he says, "Is stop it." what he meant, once I understood, that was more clear to me. Thought for practical matters, external matters that we do, they are very good. But then when thought is turned towards inward things, then we get into trouble. There we need awareness. He called that choiceless awareness. We are always in that choiceless awareness. So that became a kind of something to aim for and achieve for. And then I'm a yoga practitioner. In yoga, they called about karma yoga, jnana yoga, um, raja yoga, which is the focus, and also bhakti yoga, right? So they said, okay, if you do your work as a yoga, that means you are unselfishly working, your mind will be purified. And if you learn Raj Yoga, you can focus your mind. You know, with a purified and focused mind, you can turn towards what is divine in everybody. You know, that is where the questing for the divinity within oneself by transcending the ego, not egoistically thinking that, oh, I am so great. No, the exactly opposite. Go beyond that ego, which is very small thing. This is there for maintain your body and mind. You know, once you understand it, put it in place, and then turn inward and touch that divinity that is there in everybody, and then go and serve the divinity and everybody else. That was the spiritual journey. Okay, so that's how we kind of progressed and understood what it is to be inwardly serene, calm, loving, and really inclusive of everything and everybody. You know, that is the spiritual experience I always talk about, and I always seek other people doing the same thing and talk to them too. But otherwise, people pursue their own way, and then we get to open to everybody's paths. You know, one thing that ancient wisdom said was, all these paths, whatever path you follow, will lead to only one thing ultimately, that is toward your inner divinity. So that is the self, Ramana called. There's some people call Atman, some people call Shunya, but there is nothing like a theory, concept, and all that. There is a divine life that gives us a life. You know, that's what they talked about. So, with that kind of my presentation a little bit, I didn't go much detail into that. But the thing is, we don't know who we are. That is our ignorance, and we end up knowing who we really are, not in words, at a feeling of ourselves. You know? That is the spiritual journey that usually ancient people called as Gnana Marga. You can come to the Gnana Marga by purifying your mind and focusing your mind and having a reverence to the divine. You can find the divinity that is resting in you. Vivekananda said, you find your divinity and then manifest the divinity in your life. You know, that is the spiritual journey I was interested in. I wanted to present that. You know, so anybody has any questions, they want to come up, they're welcome to come up on both the Wisdom app and also the Clubhouse. If you are interested to talk about this, that would be good. Um, so I invited Nash upward, see what he had to say. I'm good, Nash. How are you? Yeah. I think that somebody asked me to talk about spiritual journey, and so I said, okay, I will talk about it. But then I didn't want to go too much detail into that because it is not like preaching somebody, but indicating there are other ways to be very fulfilled in human life, which is really understanding not just material existence, not just eating and sleeping and then procreating and then going down. It's more like who we are, how to understand that. Okay, so that's why I brought this up. What do you think, Nach? What is your spiritual journey? Mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. See, most of the religions talk about silencing the chattering mind within us or the thought within us, but using it for what it is supposed to be, right? So that kind of thought control, or not even control, just the silence, touching the silence within us, uh, is very, very important. But then yoga also mentioned about yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means all the vrittis, all the worlds of thought will be silenced with the yoga practices, and then tada drashtu swarupe avasthan. Then you will really see who you really are, not this conglomeration of thoughts, but that energy behind that, the life behind that. All once you are silent with your thought, you really see what you are, because it's a self-luminous thing, and that is very invigorating, very serene, where it's not judging anybody, it's not quarreling with anybody, it's kind of inclusive of everything, and it is peaceful because it has no division with anybody or no conflict with anything. So that kind of human heart, human consciousness that is there in all of us, that they call is the divine spirit. But we don't want to make it like a magic or anything, but it is there. Without that, you don't have any life. Thoughts, on the other hand, they come to do some purpose, but then we make it as the main thing and identify it. It's an identity crisis. We think we are these thoughts and our personality and all that, right? But behind the thoughts, who is that appreciating the thought? Awareness. That awareness is us. So once you establish that, you can use the thought when you need it. Like, for example, I'm using thought to make words to communicate to you, and that is the purpose of that. But that doesn't mean I am those thoughts. I'm expressing myself through the thought. But I'm coming from a real silence where it is serene and calm and invigorating to me, and I can talk to you about these things. Make sense, Nach? Yeah. Mm. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah. People are there to reflect us. You see, without, if I'm sitting in a cave, if I don't come and talk to you, how would I know how I am in respect of reacting with you? Right? How am I really reacting to whatever I say? So that is life. So I see myself in this mirror of relationship. How I react to you when you say something, how I'm feeling, how I'm understanding, how I'm expressing my thing and all that. But you know what? Having people together think about things and all that's externally compatible, but lots of times everybody is different in their own way, right? So in what I learned, one of the fundamental things in spiritual journey is You got to turn inward, not look outside to other people. If they are doing it, that's sangha they call it, right? You associate with good people, you all think together, it's all good. But fundamentally, ultimately, you got to really travel this journey, each individual on their own, right? So you got to turn inward and find out what is happening. Like, for example, I'm talking to you now, and you said something. How I am reacting is shows me who I am. That kind of understanding, that is a fundamentally very different thing. Most of the people think if I go do some rituals, if I go do some mantra, all it does is it gathers your mind and really focuses, but it doesn't give you wisdom to see who you are. That is done by individual spiritual exploration into oneself in terms of mirror that you see in the relationship. The relationship should be like a mirror. It will show you. Suppose I'm getting short with you, getting angry with you, I should be able to see that. Otherwise, what's the spirituality? you know that was a very remarkable thing that ancients talked about. All these books, all things that we can study, we can learn about them, we can quote them, but is it changing you with it? Are you able to be free from your anxieties? Are you able to free from your beliefs? Are you able to free from your prejudices and divisions and all that? So once they are all gone, then you see one with the world. World is you. You are the world. So turn inward, find out about yourself. Don't judge yourself. Find out whatever it is, and then you can transform that. Yeah, that is the very difficult thing because we can judge other person, but we cannot judge ourselves because I'm all right. I'm doing everything okay, and that is transforms the moment you are going subtler into yourself, and then you learn to study yourself in terms of relationship. And then for example, we are jealous of somebody who is having a lot of money, we don't have the money. You got to work on that, so and then the jealousy happens because you don't realize what you have good for yourself. You are comparing somebody and then making yourself lower. But if you look at it, it doesn't really matter. There is this inner abundance within us because we identify with what we don't have. There's a famous poem called Purnam Purnamidam in Sanskrit. That means there is the perfection of creator that created the perfection within me. Once you identify with that, not egotistically, but identify with that, then you feel like you are fulfilled completely. You have that's what the yogis taught me. They were never going for outward happiness. They were trying to identify the happiness within themselves with meditation. Once they identified and contented and happy with what they found, they went about helping the world, creating marvelous things. But here, modern life, what we are trained to pursue happiness outwardly. That's where the rub comes, right? Mm. Yeah, that's what I discovered. Say, it was always like a God is outside. They said no. Our people said happiness outside, go and get your things, then you will be happy. And those people said no, it's not the way. The way is to go inward, find out within you. You have that everything, then you will be much more peaceful. Actually, I tend to agree with that approach. That is the truth. Then what happens is, even if the outward things become a burden too, but if you have essentials, okay, and even if you don't have it, you can be very happy inside, very contented and happy as a human being. So that's a remarkable finding for me in my life. So I always turn inward. I always go in there. I may come and talk and share with people, but when it comes to my spiritual practice and journey, I kind of silence the mind, quiet myself, and then go inward and do it. It is becoming more and more subtle as you go along. You know, so you will always be humble, because you know how much there that we don't know. And you are free from fear of death because that particular entity of ours never dies. So that kind of good things happen once you turn inward and find who we are. So anybody else has any question? Nasha? Yeah. 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 You are right. You are right. That's the same way to be. There is what is called Satya Sodhana in ancient times. And what Satya means truth. Sodhana means probing into what is truth in any matter, right? So you can be the same pursuance of truth, and then we can both present our viewpoints, and then we are both in the same truth seeking mechanism, we are okay. But if I say what I know is right and what you don't know is you have to accept, and then I enforce on you, force you to really follow or agree with me, that becomes argument. That means I'm going to stand in my ground and say that you have to agree with this. So that is what happens with a lot of clubhouse too, because they want to establish their viewpoint and they want us to agree with it. Have to, but you don't have to argue with them. You can be your way, I'll be my way. My thing is, I go into my silent spiritual probing to myself, and I get a lot of reward out of that. See, there are ways in India. It's called you can. Go after your desires, or you could go after your accumulations, knowledge, and all that, or you can really be righteous in that. So you can have a good livelihood, you can have good economy, and all of that. They're okay. But then, lot of people, after earning lot of money, they feel devoid of something. They're missing out on something. The same with a lot of pleasurable desires too. They do so much of pleasures, and at the end of it, they don't find them valuable anymore. So at that time, they want to find out what is human being about. What are we about? That is what I'm talking about. Because after a certain life, you kind of find the money and the pleasures and all that kind of don't have the meaning. But then you want to find the meaning, then this kind of turning inward and finding out who we are, that becomes important for us. And these things were established a long time ago, because they said, no, we don't want to have a life that is full of all these things. We want a life very simple. We want to make our outward life simple. That is what they said, simple living outwardly. And inwardly, we want to explore, we want to have a richness of thinking, feeling, and appreciating everything and all that, right? So simple living outward, and um, higher thinking inward. That's what it said. And then they said, okay, after thinking, there is something beyond thinking. That was the difference between the ancients and the moderns. Are moderns want to find everything within the faculty of thought, and that is really making us nervous, anxious, depression, and all that. But they had a vision of make the thought one single thought, one way of concentration, and then go beyond that one single thought into the silent mode that we all have. That's why they were much more stable, much more peaceful, much more not making the wars and all that, right? They were within themselves very happy and all that. But then modern thing is different. You see, that's where I think we have to understand what is thought, what is its limitations, how we can understand it and use it more efficiently, better ways than making us divide, making us argue with each other, making fight, and all those things. Okay? That's why understanding this also, it is inward, it not outward. It is beyond thought, not just thought. That is a problem with our information overload. We know so many things outwardly, right? And but still, see, people are mental health is going up. People are getting anxious and depressed, and people are warring, killing each other, and people are spoiling the earth, and all those things are happening from this fundamental mistake of thinking that we are all just thought, and then we can really accumulate more and more and more information, and thinking that can give us solution. Science has the means, science has the other things that come up, but then they don't provide enough food for all the people in the world, because they're fighting with each other, because we are better, we are like that, right? All these people don't even come together to share the resource of the earth. So millions of people going hungry because of this, right? So understanding thought and using it properly is very, very, very important, you know. Yeah, yeah. Mm, yeah. I mean, their resources are very limited, but then people learn to be with the little resources, but at the same time be contented, happy with it. That was there too, you know. So I'm kind of fascinated by that. See, there was a story I always tell this when there was this king who had a lot of riches because he's collecting taxes and all that. Right, he has a lot of pleasures and all those are done, but then he felt this unhappiness within him. He has this void within him, and he was miserable, really. So because he has to fight the enemies, he has to watch the family, he has to provide everybody, and all those things, right? So he was burdened with worldly duties and all that, but also he has a lot of riches and all. So he kind of was in the balcony one day, and he saw a beggar outside the palace. He was playing with kids, and he has only a loin cloth, nothing else. But his face has the biggest smile, you know. So the king goes to the gate and tells us, "Well, how come you don't have anything? You're so happy and smiling and playing with kids. But whereas I feel miserable because I have all these things, but I still feel miserable." Then he says, "Yeah, there is your answer. You say I have all the things. Those things will not make you happy eventually. They may satisfy you, but then they will not give you that inner joy that people have." And that is a very, very telling question. You see, a lot of modern people, they want to accumulate a lot of things without understanding what the significance in their mind. Maybe you have shelter, you have clothing, you have food, that's okay. But beyond that, they want to accumulate all this money, money, money all the time. That became a problem for us. And later on, they become these problems with, all the psychiatric problems, and then they go for the treatments and all. So, spiritual awareness of knowing who we are really takes away all that egoic associated problems. At least that's how I feel. So, well, anyway, any other questions? Anything you want to ask Nach, or we can? Yeah, 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 yeah. That running in the mind is one thing a lot of people do without knowing, because if you are not a consciously being aware and in the moment, and you allowing the mind to go back and forth, it will go on doing that. But the moment you stop and watch it, what is this mind doing, it will stop. you know But if you go from morning till evening, you are thinking, and then you don't give a rest, and then again get into that, and that is where this meditation, all these things become important, because people are thinking all the time, not really allowing to rest, and then rest in our silence. That is a practice I recommend people to sit down in the morning, make yourself calm, and then in the evening make yourself calm again, and then unwind and go to sleep. That's a very healthy practice. But people have some spiritual meaning, they do it much better, I think. Some people worship, some people just do some mantra, some people do some breathing exercises. All those things help, but eventually you got to really let the thought not go in, but they were intuitive awareness go in and feel who you are. I think that is the spiritual practice I'm talking about. Oh yeah, oh yeah. A lot of people do that. Yoga has so many different ways of understanding, but then what I understood was yoga is to really calm and quiet the mind. To do that, you want to make your body physically healthy, and you have to be able to sit down and focus on one thing, and then go beyond that. Then the mind will be calmed down. If you are constantly running, if you are constantly neglecting body, then the body will be sick, and then you will not be able to do all these things. That's why they have 8 limbs of yoga. First one is moral, how you should be morally in the society, and then ethically how you should be, what kind of ethics you follow in your personal life also, and then you make your body do the physical exercises so that it should be healthy, and make sure your breathing is good because it is the energy, and also it is the one that calms the mind. And then don't let your senses go all over, and sit down one place, focus all the thoughts into one thought, and go beyond that thought. So these are 8 steps: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. First 5 are for the body and mind to get settled down, but the last 3 are really working on the thoughts, so that dharana is where you concentrate all the thoughts into one. Dhyana is staying with that one thought and staying there all the time. And finally, the samadhi is going beyond that one thought into the silence and maintaining the silence as much as possible. People can't stay silent for about a minute or two, but we understand what is the silence. Then you don't thinking all the time. You think appropriately when you need to think. Otherwise, you are in silence. That is the original ours. We are essentially silent beings inside. We don't stay in that being, we stay in the faculty of thought. That's why we'll be thinking all the time. Make sense, Nach? Yeah. That is the purpose of yoga. Yoga is but to realize what is the mind and going beyond the mind and really stay in our true being. You know, to do that, all these things are important. But now people are only doing physical exercise, like, which is good, but then that is not the only thing. That's just a part of it on the way to your real purpose. you know. So I kind of really think yoga can take anybody in stage. For example, if you are obese, suppose you are very weak, or suppose you are having some disease, yoga can help you to manage that better. I always tell people I'm doing yoga. That's why I don't have to take any medication. Even though I'm 68 now, I don't have to take. A lot of yogis are like that. And then you kind of do everyday exercises, energy, and all that, so that you can keep yourself in a good condition, so you can do what you want to do in life. You can enjoy life. You know, lot of people stay in the nursing homes and all that because they never had this knowledge, and they were not able to protect their health, and sometimes accidents happen. Sometimes so many deaths happen. All those things are life events. But when we are here, can we be in the present? Can we be calm? Can we be focused in what we are doing? Those simple things are all possible with yoga, because you will get many other benefits. But then finally, what are you doing for? Yoga is union of yourself and the divine self. And so, and then realizing I have the divine self within me. I am that. And once you do that, then life will be much more expansive, and at the same time inclusive of everybody. At the same loving energy there within you to understand and help people and do good things in life, not because of your personal pride, but because it's good thing to do. That's it. So there are a lot of advantages once you understand spiritual wisdom from the ancients and understanding our modern life, and why we are having so many problems in modern life, how we can help the modern problems with our ancient wisdom that was given to us. You know, you don't have to be a particular religion for that. Every religion has the ancient history. You tap into them, and then they will tell you the same thing. Okay, I think we are around 40 minutes into the lecture here today, and yeah, 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 yeah. That is, yeah. It's a more than mindset. I would say understand what his mindset is, understand what mind is. Is that really real, or just we picked up and then we built it up within you? For me, I get rid of all the thoughts, everything very quickly, because there is one thing I remember all the time. That is, Ramana Maharshi said this: one's attention, one's attention has always to be poised on one's inner self, not your ego, but what is beyond ego. So one's attention has always to be poised on one's inner self. The moment you know about it, kind of immediately go into the self that is beyond this thought, and thought will be in its place and it's not bothered. Very difficult, but then once you understand and stay in there, you'll be very, very good. I think there's one person there. If he wants to come up and talk anything, we'll invite him just in case he wants to. Because I don't want to close the room without giving him a chance. Um, okay. I don't think he's coming up, and that's fine too. Um, Anybody on the Wisdom app want to come up and ask a question or tell us your experience? Okay, there is somebody. Okay, okay. Yeah. Yeah. A friend of mine is coming up. Hello, Akeem. Yeah, yeah. How are you? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they give you an idea about your capabilities or lack of it, and then you can grow from them. So there can opportunities to grow, probably, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are challenges, but they are presented for you for a purpose, probably. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that is the self discovery. That what you said. That is what makes sense. Because you tell somebody else something, we may not be that. But we know about it. Suppose I'm anxious about something. I know the feeling of anxiety, taste of anxiety. Even if I say I am not like that, I can be stable, I'm only deceiving myself. But if I say, oh yeah, I do get anxious unnecessarily, also very quickly, how can we liberate myself from that? That is kind of spiritual journey I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everybody has their own path, way of doing it. That's fine. And also this thing about groups gathering together and then learning from each other. More than that, I think we got to turn inward and find out about ourselves first, and then go to the world. That is the individual, pursuit that is encouraged in the ancient times. Rather than just agreeing with a group and doing some ritual and saying it will quieten your mind, it will give you some peace. But then your own inquiry, hard questions about yourself, they come up in the relationship. Like I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. I can react to what you're saying. Suppose I'm very impatient inside. That's the truth about me. Just saying that, oh, I'm not like that is not going to help me, right? But on the other hand, say, why do I have to be so reactive to something he said? Then I will know my conditioning is like this. I want it the world to be like this, but the world is completely different. Then you would, subsidence of the reactions really makes a lot of peace. Not that just we are roll down and accept whatever they say, but why we should react like that? Lot of my doctors whom I train, they react quite much about the things that are happening around them. You go there hospital, you want to take care of patient, right? But then so many bureaucratic things, so many people interfere with that. Then these people are getting very angry. The situation is true, very infuriating. But then if you allow yourself, you are burning up. Instead, understand the situation and stand up for the truth without reacting. Respond to the challenge. Yeah. Yes, very much. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's where it is. Ability to respond to the challenge is a responsibility, right? And then we kind of have less capacity when we are reacting and making a bad soup within us. And that's a physiological there. That's why I teach them deep breathing, because be in the present. That's one thing I tell them. And the other thing is deep breath. Understand deep breathing, do it as much. Then what happens is the parasympathetic nervous system really activated. That is the rest and digest, right? What says the sympathetic overload we generate by our own inner reactions, quite a bit. And also this condition too. You got to be like this. You got to all those things are there. Then immediately people get into that sympathetic, like a danger, something in front of them. They think there's a danger. Deadline is danger. Opinion of a colleague is a danger. Or respect of everything becomes a danger. Then we are activating a sympathetic overload all the time, and that is why burnout is happening. So I teach them, come on, relax, find what is meaningful, go back to the service attitude, go there and saying that, okay, these people are reacting such a way, but I don't have to. I have a responsibility to do. I will respond to that. In the clinic also happens, right? Patients are unhappy with the nurses or whatever, right? And they come and complain to me in a very agitated manner, the patient. And if I pick up that mood from him and go and alert my nurse, that's not fair, because I have to maintain relationship with my staff too, right? So I got to calm down, but I also respond to my patient's complaint, find out what it is, and really where the problem is, the process is the person, where we are going wrong. Otherwise, my private clinic, right? People will walk away. So I got to calm myself down. That's how I developed that. Respond to the situation without inner negative reaction. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Mm. In my yoga practice, Hakim, I say we are going to be here and now this 1 hour. That means you are going to be in awareness, not your conditioned thought, right? Second thing is we're going to deep breathe through the whole asana, pranayama, meditation, all that. And the third thing is we're going to do both sides of the body so that the body is balanced, even in our thinking too. So it happens in the morning, first 1 hour, you really want to have a stabilized nervous system. Otherwise, you're going to have the whole day reacting very fast. That gives it kind of has to negate all that we have built up. It takes some time, but once you are in the process, then when you go to the work, I tell them take a minute break every hour and just have some few deep breaths. Then you'll come back to your presence, and then you will be non-reactive, responding. Use that. And in the evening, sit down and reflect on the day. See what are the reactions I had through the day. That I would call the review of reactions. Just contemplate, not to become despondent about it. But suppose I yelled at a nurse, for example, and she did something wrong. Then review that. What the good of it? What is that you gained out of it? And slowly, now I don't even yell at them. I tell them nicely and they tell them they can understand the way, take time and calm down. All I found was when the patient or somebody is really agitated, me calming myself down helped them. They also calm down. Mostly, So some people will be railing anyway, but then most of the people calm down. First of all, the moment I walked in, things calm down. But then my attitude really helps them to calm themselves down too. I train my nurses when difficult patients, when somebody unhappy comes up, don't react to them right away. Just make them sit down. You also sit down. Then you say, okay, calmly tell me what happened. What is the problem? And then listen to them. And lots of times, if you listen to their complaint itself, they are happy. But then you take action, they are happy. If you really take action, you'll improve your practice because you are listen to them and also you improve the process. And they're happy that they were making a difference in the running of the practice too. So it's all a question of really calming ourselves inner, and that is this diplomacy, this hotel management people. They teach the front office to laugh and be nice to the customers. That is a conflict. You are feeling rage inside, but outward you are laughing and saying, "I'm fine." So what I'm saying is, if your inner self is calm, then you can reflect the same thing outward. So work on yourself first. That is it. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, this is a big deal for us because we are having a society, plenty of outward things, but then very little distribution to the people, inequality, right? And also, there's so much of anxiety, depression, unhappiness, stress going in the society because a lot of people are letting it go. They're saying that's the free expression and all that, right? You can do the free expression, but why do you have to is a negative tinge about it? This is bad for our health too, Hakim. That's the main thing. See, if you have a lot of bad soup by generating all these stress hormones on a continuous basis, we react to the political events, we react to the gossip, we react to the other people's lives, stars' lives, everybody. And that slowly, inch by inch, a lot of secretion of stress hormones at the end of the day. Do we call that civilization progress, or do we call that more like a ignorance our own health? So we can laugh it off, we can take it easy, right? Yeah. I mean, there are simple things I recommend. Like I say, well, when you are smiling at somebody, Look at their being and their smile. Don't take their personality and all those things because they are all superficial. Inward, basically, Hakim is a human being and Dr. Rao is a human being. Relate at that level. Everything else is fine. They can have so much difference. That's okay. But then similarity is you are alive, I am alive. You are a being, I am a being. So I relate at that level. That's why all the filters fall off. You see, then we are real human tribe, and then we can relate to people not according to the knowledge, not according to the ego that they have, not according to the status they have, or gender, or anything. All those filters fall off. And that is needed for us because our society has not only here, all over the world, doing all the time, do so many things, but don't attend to our real inner being. That's what I'm talking about, my spiritual journey. Yeah, that, yeah, yeah. That's a balance, but the balance will come better if you attend to the inward because we do so little of it now. But I'm bringing out is the fact that this has to be addressed. Maybe this is more than external things. Then external things we do much better. You see, otherwise people are getting lost in this external things, but the inner things they come late or when they break down, when they have psychiatric background or mental health problems or marriages, all those negative things happen in their life, then they come to it. What I'm saying is we should educate it in the schools, also in the work environment and universities everywhere. Then people will be not addicted to all these drugs that we are saying. I'm saying this fentanyl that's coming through San Diego every day, and then they're bringing them through the cars, and they have no scanners to detect them. And when they told the Trump administration, Biden, they are not doing that. That's why a lot of fentanyl is coming through San Diego, and people are dying like anything. There. So, and that's a big problem as the doctors. This drug addiction, fentanyl induced death, they are growing up. Thousand, I believe, last time, and they are growing up, and that's a shame. You and then what they're bringing? They're bringing like candy. They look like candy. As the kids are taking them like, oh, it's a candy. It will make me feel good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it is going to we're all collectively aware and understand, and then we can do something about it. So what I am saying is, outward things come next, first inward things, especially with human beings. And that's what the ancient explored a lot. That's where I call upon the ancient wisdom. Science and technology, okay, but then this inward balance we're not having anymore. That's where I think we should focus. So that was Hakeem, a friend of mine, on the wisdom. Thanks, Hakeem, for coming up and asking the question and participating in this discussion. Um, okay, then it's almost 1 hour now. We were talking about this. Nach, I will see you. Maybe Abhilash wants to come up. Yeah, I thought he raised his hand. That's why we'll give him a chance to come out. Abhishek or somebody. I see his hand is up, but I invited him. Okay, Nash, I will see you next time again. Okay. Um, yeah, thanks. Yeah. I, yeah. I also listen to them. I used to be fluent in Hindi talking, but now I have to really search for words that I can understand. I listen to everyone. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. Thanks for coming up, and I will see you again then.